Good afternoon, students. We are in the AVVEMC digital classroom where learning never stops. So, we have started our new topic, planning in Indian economy. So, before we learn the objective and strategy of economic planning in India, we should go with the historical review of the planning. The Indian National Congress, under the inspiration of Jawaharlal Nehru, set up the National Planning Committee, which is known as NPC, the National Planning Committee. So, NPC towards the end of 1938. So, under the inspiration of Jawaharlal Nehru, NPC was set up in at the end of 1938. That is National Planning Committee. The committee produced a series of studies on different subjects concerned with economic development. The committee laid down that the state should own or control all key industries and services, mineral resources and railways, waterways, shipping and other public utilities, and in fact all those large scale industries which were likely to become monopolistic in character. Besides the NPC, National Planning Committee, 8 leading industrialists of India conceived a plan of economic development, which was popularly known as the Bombay Plan. There was also a Gandhian plan which was prepared by Shriman Narayan, the world famous revolutionary M.N. Roy formulated the People's Plan. So, besides the NPC, there were a lot of plans which were made by the leading industries. All these plans were only of historical importance because they were just paper plans which were never implemented, but they stimulated thinking about the various aspects of planning in India. Just after the attainment of independence, the Prime Minister Nehruji set up the Planning Commission in 1950. This question may be asked to you in the multiple choice question or for the short question, that in which year the Planning Commission was set up. So, after the attainment of independence, the Prime Minister Nehruji set up the Planning Commission in 1950 to assess the country's need of material capital and human resources and to formulate economic plans for their more balanced and effective utilization. The first 5 year plan commenced in 1950-51 and it was followed by a series of 5 year plan. If we talk about now, this is the historical review of planning. If we talk about objectives and strategies, so objective of economic planning, if we talk about the objectives of economic planning in India, the directive principle of our constitution laid down that the state shall in a particular direct in policy towards securing, we can say first that citizens, men and women equally have the right to educate means of livelihood. Second, that the ownership and the control of resources of the committee are so distributed as best to subserve the common goods. Third, that the operation of the economic system does not result in the concentration of wealth and mean of production to the common uh, determinant. So the directive principle of the Indian constitutions are thus an expression of the will of the people of India for rapid economic growth. Accordingly, the Government of India adopted planning as a means of fostering economic development. The Planning Commission set out the following four term objective, or we can say following four long term objectives of planning. So the Planning Commission and the long term objective of economic planning. You can see on the screen. First, to increase production to the maximum possible extent so as to achieve higher level of national and per capita income. Second, to achieve full employment. Third, to reduce inequality of income and wealth. And fourth, to set up a socialist society based on equality and justice and absence of exploitations. After learning the objective of economic planning, we will learn Indian economic planning and socialism. India as a mixed economy. So we will learn about the socialism and mixed economy or the capitalist economics after this topic, the objectives of economic planning. So I will teach you. So the first 5-year plan expressed clearly the long-term objectives or goals of economic planning in India as we can say the maximum production and full employment, the attainment of economic equality or social justice, which constitute the accepted objectives of planning under present day conditions, are not really so many. Uh, we can say are not really so many different ideas, but a series of related aims which the country must work for. None of these objectives can be pursued to the exclusion of other. A plan of development must place balanced emphasis on all of these. If we talk about the B.S. Minhas in his book Planning and the Poor, a former member of Indian Planning Commission states, securing rapid economic growth and expansion of employment, reduction of disparity in income, and wealth prevention of the concentration of economic power, and creation of the values and attitude of a free and equal society have been among the objective of all our plans. Here, we may discuss the above socio-economic objective under the headings of, under the two headings. These long-term objective, we can learn under the two uh, headings. One is economic planning and a removal of poverty. Other is economic planning and social justice. So under the head of economic planning and removal of poverty, the sub point we can to understand this, This point is divided into two: rapid economic growth and increase in employment. The basic aim of economic planning in India is to bring about rapid economic growth through development of agriculture, industry, power, transport, and communications, and all other sectors of the economy. The basic measure of economic growth of a country is the continuous expansion year after year of real national income and real per capita income. Economic growth should also include improvement in quality of life consisting of life expectancy, infant mortality, literacy, etc. A little consideration will show that all these indicators of development are interrelated in the sense that expansion of real national income is the basis for increase in per capita income and also improvement in quality of life. For a poor country such as India with a large mass of people steeped in poverty and misery, increase in national income by itself is not enough. Instead, consistent increase in per capita income over a period, along with improvement in quality of life in the yardstick to judge the economic development of India. At that time, Indian planners aim to increase national and per capita income on the assumption that the continuous increase in these income would reduce the eventually remove poverty and misery and raise the standard of living of the masses. But when our planners found that increase in national income was not accompanied by reduction of poverty in the country, the objective of planning from the fourth plan onward was not simply economic growth, but raising the standard of living of those who have living in abject poverty for generations, may uh, for centuries. According to fourth five-year plan, the basic goal is a rapid increase in the standard of living of the people. And again, emphasis is placed on the common man, the weaker sections, and the less privileged. In fact, the slogan was Garibi Hatao and Growth with Justice were coined during the early 1970s to indicate clearly that the emphasis would be on removal of poverty and not simply on increase in the national income. Up to fourth five-year plan, the planners have the objective that with the increase in the rapid economic growth, ultimately poverty will be removed. But at the uh, we can say at the 1970s, to indicative clearly that early 1970, it is indicative clearly that the emphasis would be on removal of poverty and not simply on increase in national income. It must be given. The other is increase in employment. Unemployment and underemployment are important causes of poverty in India. Hence, from the very beginning, removal of unemployment and underemployment has been has been an important objective of economic planning in the country. The Planning Commission has all along assumed that increase in investment would be accompanied by increase in employment as well as increase in national income of the country. What the planning commission has assumed that they assumes that increase in investment would be accompanied by increase in employment, which leads to increase in national income of the country. The commission argued explicitly in the third plan that as national income increased in response to investment and development outlay, the demand for labor would automatically rise and more employment would be created. At the same time, the removal of unemployment would result in increase in gross national product and the standard of living of the people on the other. Accordingly, all the 5-year plans had program of economic growth with increase in employment as inherent in the development programs. Even though employment has been mentioned as one of the objective of economic planning in all our 5-year plan, it has never been accorded a high priority. In no plan do we find separate employment plans framed for each one of these sectors and regions so as to boost employment on the one side and national income on the other. This explains why unemployment has increased over the years. For the first time, I can say for the first time, the Planning Commission admitted in the Janata Party sixth plan, uh, approximately 1978-83, the possibility of real conflict between employment and economic growth and accorded employment a pride of place in the plan. However, in the sixth plan, 1980-85, which was finally accepted and implemented by the Congress Party, the main focus reverted to the traditional growth approach, with the usual assumption that employment would increase with rise in investment, irrespective of choice of techniques. Thus, not a single plan has been framed keeping employment generation as a primary objective, and only lip service was paid to the achievement of full employment. Okay, so in the any of the plan, employment generation was not taken as the primary objective. Second, that is, if we talk about the economic planning and social justice, we say that in an unplanned society, various types of retrogressive forces operate, such as inequalities of income, poverty, absence of equal opportunities for progress, etc. India's economic plan made conscious effort to remove all these retrogressive forces and foster social as well as individual development. Reduction of inequality of income and the establishment of a socialist society create condition in which everyone will have equal opportunities in the matter of education and employment. Besides, there will be no concentration of economic power and exploitation of one individual by another. So economic planning and social justice, if we discuss this point, we have to we are discussing this point under the headings of reduction of inequality of income and establishment of a social society. So if we talk about reduction of inequality in income under the heading of economic planning and social justice, a very small group of person in India are better off and have not experienced poverty and misery. There are rich landlords in the countryside, merchants, industrialists, bankers, top officials of the government, etc. The vast majority of people are, however, very poor because their income is very low. Extreme inequalities of income and wealth in India have their roots in the traditional social formation, and necessarily, therefore, the reduction of inequalities of income and wealth would be possible only through abolishing the semi feudal relation of production in our villages. The Planning Commission outlined such measures as removal of all intermediates and the ceiling on land holding for reduction of inequalities of wealth and income in rural areas. Another aspect of inequality of income in India is the large disparities between rural and urban income, which are bound to be accentuated over the years with the industrialization and economic growth. The Planning Commission has suggested measures to raise agriculture productivity, development of agro-based industries, fair price to farmer for their products. Even though reduction of income inequalities has always been mentioned as one of the objectives in all the plans, in terms of priority, this objective invariably got a very low position. This could possibly be so because Nehru, the architect of Indian planning, did not believe that the problem of economic inequalities of income and wealth could ever be solved merely by redistribution. The fourth plan stated clearly, in a rich country, greater equality could be achieved in part by transfer of income through fiscal, pricing, and other policies. No significant result can be achieved through such measure in a poor country. So if we talk about establishment of a social society, we can say that finally the Indian planner visualized the establishment of a socialist society in which everyone would have equal opportunity in the matter of education, occupation, etc. Wealth would be distributed equally, and there would be no concentration of economic power in the hands of few individual or families. I want to say individual or families. Above all these would be no scope for exploitation of men by men. The first three plans talked of the setting up of a socialist pattern of society or development along socialist lines. The fourth plan talk about the establishment of social and economic democracy. It stated The broad objective of planning could thus be defined as rapid economic development accompanied by continuous progress toward equality and social justice and the establishment of a social and economic democracy. But the definition of economic democracy, as given by the Indian planners, is different from what is commonly understood elsewhere. In the affluent economies, where abysmal poverty has been eliminated, economic democracy is almost the same as a free market economy. I again repeating the definition of economic democracy as given by the Indian planners is different from what are commonly understood elsewhere. In India, however, the broad definition of economic democracy is the availability of opportunities for education, public health, and sanitization, drinking water supply, etc., for large masses of people, irrespective of whether they are rich or poor. After the initiation of the liberalization, privatization, and globalization model of growth in 1991, these objectives have been completely abandoned at the altar of market forces. So, if we here we have to evaluate the long-term objective of planning. So, we will evaluate the long-term objective of planning in the next lecture thoroughly. So in this lecture, we have completed the historical review of planning, the objective of economic planning in India, the long-term objective, and for these, to understand these long-term objectives, we have discussed the economic planning in removal of poverty, with the help of rapid economic growth and increase in employment, in the subheading and economic planning and social justice, with the subheading of reduction of inequality of income and establishment of a social society. So in the next lecture, we will learn or we will evaluate the long-term objective of planning, and we will learn the democratic socialism in India, mixed economy and economic planning. So these topics we will learn in the next lecture. Thank you one and all.